So words again are more powerful than most of us give them credit for. They build people up, but they can also tear them down. They create possibilities, but they can also destroy opportunities. When we speak, we're not just filling air, we're shaping futures. The real question is, are you speaking words that align with the life and legacy you want to live, or are your words working against you? So, with that being said, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to hit about four definitions that are going to kind of help shape this conversation for tonight. So the first one is affirmation. Again, like Coach just said, the last 2 weeks, go back and watch them. There's part one and part two. I highly recommend you go back and watch both of them, preferably even in the same day. But 'cause we talked about all kind of positive affirmations and all those things. Two very good shows. So affirmation, a positive statement used to reframe belief and inspire action. I like when
Ish,
coaches do that. Ish.
ish,
I like
right.
the ish. I like the ish. And like I said, these, I remember, Roland always talks about there's different definitions. So we're always open to it. And even if you in the chat, if you got your own definition for something, man, we don't have a problem with you putting it in the chat or what you think, your definition of this is. But it's kind of what we like to do at the beginning of the show to kind of set the tone for the show. Um Self-talk, the inner dialogue you have with yourself. Word legacy, the lasting impact of your spoken words on others. Ish. I like that one. And the last one, phrases, verbal seeds, phrases that once spoken grow into behaviors and mindsets.
Less ish,
Mm.
but ish.
That's ish, yes.
Right.
Yeah. I like those two. I got some issues on there too, when I was looking them up and trying to find some halfway decent ones. And two of the ones that I kind of was unfamiliar with, but kind of makes sense was, verbal seeds and word legacy. You know what I mean? We know what legacy is, and just add the word onto it, and the same thing with the verbal seed. So with that being said, here we go. The first thought-provoking question of the night is this. Mr. Coach, how have words spoken over you in childhood shape who you are today?
So this is one of the reasons why my response to verbal seeds was ish. Because
Mhm.
if I'm being completely transparent, they haven't. Not one thing that I recall that was spoken over me as a child manifests itself in my life today. Not one thing. Um, and I'm not saying whether or not those things that were spoken over me were good or bad, positive or negative, whatever that looks like, but they haven't. So that's why I made the comment again about verbal seeds, because when we start talking about seeds, we also need to understand that you don't plant seeds any time of the year. You plant seeds when it's time to plant seeds. You
Mhm.
cultivate when it's time to cultivate. You harvest when it's time to harvest. But if I just take seeds as a blanket statement that I can plant 365 days a year, that would be a wrong perspective. So every seed, every verbal seed that is spoken over you does not manifest. It does not take shape. It does not take root, because a lot of the times when they're planted, they're not planted when you're in season. So to very long response to a very short answer, they have not.
Did you get the pastor seed or preacher seed?
Sure,
Got that one too.
but I didn't get that from them.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Um, because I'm 49 now. So I'm trying to go back to my childhood and see if something was spoken over me. Maybe Charlotte Jordan in the chat, maybe she has something that she can respond to. I don't know. But as I'm thinking, you kind of made me pause. And here's what I initially thought. Um, I'm just like, dang, coach, like, ain't nobody say nothing, because it kind of makes it, I don't I don't even know how I want to respond. It makes it seem like nobody in your life in the past when you was a child said anything to help you develop into what you are, even if it may have been something small, like, I don't know if someone spoke, "Oh, you're going to be great one day." Like for me, I don't remember hearing those words, but again, my dad died in 18. I'm 49. I don't necessarily remember all of those things, and he may have spoken over me, or my mom may have spoken over me when I was young. Again, I don't necessarily, we've talking about some of our past, but I don't necessarily know all about your childhood or anything like that. Um, so I guess I don't know. Did I don't
Let me say it like this.
Yeah.
Maybe this will help. This is why I am the way I am as it pertains to marriage and child rearing.
Okay.
Right. Because at the end of the day, when you know better, supposedly you do better. But when you get married at the age of 18 and have a child at the age of 19 and things of that, you're still in survival mode. You're trying to make sure that you keep the lights on. You're trying to make sure that you know, the child is fed, whatever the case may be. And I wasn't the first child, I was the second child, right?
Mhm.
I was number 2. So
Okay.
you're in survival mode. You're still trying to put your life together and still trying to fend for the child. Now, I want to make sure I'm clear when I'm saying this. I'm not saying that my parents were bad people. I'm just
Mhm.
saying that at the age they were having kids, they were still trying to figure life out. That's
Mm.
not the space and time to have children, right? Again, I didn't learn this until after I had children, right? So again, repetition, right? So,
Yep,
but
same
that's not
thing.
but that's not the space and time to have children. That's the time
Mhm.
for you to figure your life out and get out of survival mode so that now once you're into the space to where you can actually understand what positivity look like, right? You
Mhm.
actually be able to speak positivity. You can speak those things over your children, so forth and so on. So, even with the question that you asked me about the pastor seed, yeah, I didn't get that till I was an adult. And
Mm.
that didn't come from anybody in my family. That came from somebody that I knew, after
Mhm.
going in the army and all that other great and wonderful stuff. And this person didn't know me from a can of paint.
Mhm.
So it's like when you look at it, it's like when you and again, I can't speak for anybody else, but I can speak
Mhm.
for myself. When you look at it and you reflect and you consider and so forth and so on, if those seeds were spoken, right, depending upon the age, then you could remember. Because I can tell you that there are some things
Mm.
I do remember, right, that were not necessarily good that were spoken. You see what I'm saying? So it's like
Mhm.
when you have the ability to recall a thing, and you recall a thing within a time span of a certain age, well, that is very revealing to, kind of like the situation that you was in. Again,
Mhm.
not saying that they were bad people. I think that's
Mhm.
important for everybody to hear. But when a person is at a certain stage in their life, they're focused on surviving, right? They're not necessarily positive themselves because they're trying to deal with the realities of life. So, how can you expect something positive coming out of a person when they struggle with seeing the positive that's existing in life, all in all? That's why I say everybody
Mm.
isn't raised the same. Everybody does not come from
Yep.
the same situation. When you understand, especially getting into the details of how
Mm.
people are raised and some of the things that they've been through, it'll really change your perspective about who you see today.
Mm. Yeah. So my experience was different than yours. My parents were got married in March 1975, and I was born 9 months later. My father had already had 2 kids, but my parents were in from what I my parents were in the church at the time. They was in a Pentecostal church. My dad was a minister. My mom, as I got older, I remember her being a missionary. Yeah, Charlotte Jordan. Yeah, right, threw you out there. But yeah, so it's like um we was in the church all the time. And I remember my parents, praying for us, praying over us. I remember going, you remember tarrying service, like Terry for the Holy Ghost? I remember doing all of that stuff. So I I kind of think that there were some things that were spoken over me as a child that may have shaped the way and who I am today. I know my mom prayed for me. I know a lot of the way, not necessarily a way, but part of the reason why I got this far in life is have been directly because of her prayers. Um, at least that's what I believe. So, but the part what gives me pause is the part that you said about the recalling. You know, I don't know how much of my childhood I can recall from like words being spoken over me. But I do feel like, or I do think that there were words that were spoken over me, but I can't necessarily recall. So, um, again, like you said, that's my experience, but what do you say to that? You know what I mean? Could that be the case as well?
Like you said, that's your experience.
That's my experience. Yeah.
And I think that's the only thing I can say to that.
Mhm.
Because just like you're able to articulate like what your mom and dad did for a living when you were younger, my dad was in the army.
Mm.
My dad was in the army. My mom was
Mm.
my mom was a housewife trying to get to the place to where she can actually do some of the things that she wanted to do and needed to do to kind of help take care of household responsibility, things of that nature. So it was very difficult. And oh yeah, by the way, started off in what Fort Benning, then went to Fort Jackson, then ended up going to Heidelberg, Germany, and that was our last joint stop together. So it's
Mm.
like that's why I say it's a lot of different things, a lot of moving parts. And so
Yeah.
when we caught a hop back to the United States, it was me, my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, my cousin, so forth, all live in the same house.
Mm.
So it's like it's a different dynamic overall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What's
Yep.
being spoken over you, you honestly don't really know because of so many
Mhm.
different conversations going
Yeah.
on. You know, this person comes in the house, you know, on a Friday night, you know, probably as they would say, liquored up. And next
Mhm.
thing you know, it'd be like some type of altercation going on in the other room. And you peeping around the corner trying to see what's going on. I'm like, get back around there. Okay, got it. You
Mm.
know, prayers happened,
Mhm.
right? And I don't know what they were, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? But the fact that they were prayers, that's all that really matter, right?
Yeah.
Now, what those prayers were about, I can't really tell you. But do I
Mhm.
believe my grandmother prayed? Sure, I believe my grandmother prayed. In fact, I know when I got older, I knew I seen my grandmother pray. And,
Mhm.
you know, they'll be like, "Hey, you might not wanna go around there, she around there praying." I'm like, "Okay, I'll stay around here then." So it's like stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like, you know, different dynamics, you know,
Mhm.
ebbs and flow of life. But what does that look like in a child who all they see is survival? And in their mind, I'm like, I don't want that when I become an adult. And so
Mm.
then they get to the point to where everything that they're doing in their life is trying not to live that life. Right? So now let's go back to what is being spoken over them. Because if what is being spoken over them, and again, not saying it was not at that point, but if what is being spoken over them is rooted in positivity, then how is it that on this end they're saying, well, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this? Because if it was spoken over them, it should have been spoken to them as well. And if it's spoken to them, then ideally they should learn the way to posture their mindset so that they say it the right way on what they really want, not so much as what they don't want.
Mm. Imma throw Charlotte in the bone real quick. Charlotte used to tell me to make my bed in the morning and get my clothes out at night, so those are the things that spoke. But I don't know if they just I don't know. Let's move on, man. Let's go on with something else right there. Alright, so do you believe words are more powerful than actions? Why or why not?
No,
Same.
I believe words are just as powerful as action. I think the issue here is that a lot of times people words and their actions don't line up. They say a thing, what they're really thinking and what they really want, but at the end of the day, they're doing the thing, and the thing that they're doing is what they really believe. So ideally, they believe that they can speak themselves into doing a thing, but in all actuality, that's the concept of fake it till you make it. And
Mm.
so it kinda goes back to the old James Baldwin statement, right? I can't believe what you say because I see what you do." So now that kind of brings things full circle. Do I really believe what it is that I'm saying? And if I'm actually saying it, then there has to be evidence that I'm actually doing it. And if there's no evidence that I'm actually doing it, then maybe I need to change the way that I say it because the way that I'm saying it is giving a false interpretation. So, do I believe that words are powerful? Yes. Do I believe they're more powerful than actions? No, because because by virtue of what I really believe, faith without deeds is dead.
I agree with you 100%. Words to me are not more powerful; they are as powerful. Um, but I believe that when somebody tell me they love me, but then they flipping me off going down the street or whatever, just whatever they doing, but their actions don't line up with the love. And I'm not necessarily talking about um not necessarily that feeling of love, because it's about the action or the love the action that goes along with the love, because people tell you they love you all day long, but then they going around you and they talk about you behind your back. You know what I mean? So I agree with you that your actions is way more important. I can, I can tell Cheryl I love her all the time, but if I don't spend no time with her, if I don't, send her a letter every once in a while, or do anything. If I don't, there's no action behind my words, then at some point, you know, she may think that I don't love her. But and it's vice versa. Like there has to be action behind it. Just saying that you love me or saying that I love you or saying you love a person is not enough. That's my opinion.
I get it.
Um,
I'm with you.
yep. So this next question is for us and it's for the chat. Let me close this. Do you think sarcasm is a polite way to roast someone?
So as as everybody is formulating their responses,
Mhm,
yeah, this question is very interesting
mhm,
because at the end of the day, is roasting someone polite?
mhm,
I mean, because ideally, according to this question, it seems like there are multiple ways to roast someone. And
mhm,
so the question kind of gives to the notion that roasting is polite, but sarcasm may or may not be the right way to do it. And I
mhm,
think ideally, it's a way to have fun with a person. And
mhm,
depending upon the relationship that you have with that person, they understand that you're having fun, ideally.
mhm.
But then there is a way of going too far when it comes down to it. I think roasting is always the way of going too far. Roasting is reserved for comedy shows and things of that nature, right? And we laugh at it because at the end of the day, we know it wrong. We know it's wrong. So by default, if roasting someone is wrong, then sarcasm while roasting them is absolutely wrong. Now,
Mhm,
does that necessarily mean that sarcasm is wrong? Because when you look at the definition of sarcasm, it conveys a way you say something that includes contempt.
mhm.
But if I'm being sarcasm, do I really have contempt for you, the person, or do I have contempt for your ways as it pertains to the things that you're doing? And I think sometimes, and this is why I'm very big on definitions, and I keep saying that words mean things. And
Heard
again, it's all about how we apply them as well. Because a lot of times we want to take it as a blanket and just throw it across everything. So when I look at sarcasm, I can have contempt for the behavior and not have contempt for the person. Now, a sarcastic statement about an observed behavior probably won't come unless I never had a conversation with you about said observed behavior. So at the end of the day, if we both adults and I've already had this conversation with you about this observed behavior, then why am I still seeing this behavior if, going back to your statement previously, if you quote unquote love me? So that's kind of
Mhm,
like my point. So what you cannot do now, you cannot say, hey, I know I robbed that bank, but he robbed the corner store. No, guilty is guilty is guilty.
mhm.
So if it takes sarcasm for me to get your attention about your said behavior, then maybe sarcasm is warranted in that particular scenario. But again, I caution when we say sarcasm is contempt for a person. That's not a true statement. Go back and read and understand the definition. It conveys contempt, but it's not necessarily contempt for the person.
I'm almost scared to add anything to it because you did such a good job of answering this question that I don't wanna take away from it. Um, the highlight from what I heard was more towards the beginning when you talked about the relationship and how important that is. I think that has a lot to do with it. um me and you can talk or be sarcastic about certain things. Whereas if I'm talking to somebody at school that I may not have a close relationship with, it may seem or it may come off in a negative type of way. And the same thing, we just brushing it off. We are because we know each other and we know that it is genuine love or whatever like that. It's not malicious at all. Because I think sometimes when people are sarcastic, they really are being malicious. And I think that sometimes, like you kind of mentioned at the end, I think sometimes it is a way of getting someone's attention before I kind of give you the hammer a little bit. Like, look, I'm be a little sarcastic here. I'm gonna laugh it off a little bit. Hey man, you might want to get on somewhere, you know what I mean, or whatever. And then after that, I may take it to the next level. So I do believe and I do agree that there may be some times where sarcasm or whatever is warranted. And sometimes it can be used as a as a warning signal. Say, hey, look, bro, get a little sarcastic, blah 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 blah. The next move is gonna maybe more direct or maybe a little bit more harsh. But then again, like I said, I really gravitated towards the friendship piece of that or the relationship piece of
Mhm.
that. It seemed like a lot of time when we over here, we get to somehow turn back to the relationship at some point, and I like that.
Well, it's kinda hard to avoid that, to be honest with you, because a lot of
Mhm.
these conversations we wouldn't be having if there wasn't a relationship, right? So,
Mm.
we talk about, like you said just a few seconds ago, you talk about love. Well, if there's
Mhm.
a relationship, then what does love look like? Like, am I called to love my brother and my sisters? Yes. Love thy
Mhm.
neighbor as thyself? Absolutely. But by that same token, that also requires that I actually know them and get to know them as well. So now, and I'm not just talking about neighbor as the person who lives next door to me. You desire to
Mhm.
know people who live next door to you for obvious reasons, right? But it's also the people who are like our neighbors within faith. So now we desire to get to know them, right? So we can look out for them, things of that nature, just like you would do your neighbor next door. So it
Mhm.
is all relationship. How can a person hurt your feelings? Because you're in relationship. Can a stranger hurt your feelings? Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, I mean, most people don't really care what somebody else thinks about them. Well, I take that back. Let's
Yeah.
back up. Let me say it the right way. Let me back up and say it the right way. When a
Yeah,
person matures, they don't really care what a stranger thinks about them.
that part right there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Would You Rather. We got up to 10 questions. I'm going through them and maybe we'll talk about all of them and maybe we won't. So, you ready for Would You Rather, coach?
Let's
All
do it.
right. Would you rather take back every negative word you said or hear every negative word said about you?
Take back every negative word I said.
Yeah, I'd rather take back every negative word. I don't really care about what someone said about me, at least at my age.
I'm happy I didn't hear it.
That part right there too. Would you rather be known for giving great speeches or quiet, impactful advice?
Quite impactful advice.
Same here. Would you rather never be able to compliment again or never be able to criticize again? Would you rather never be able to compliment again or never be able to criticize again?
You see, that's a slippery slope. And
Mhm.
I'm never mind.
Because of the criticize?
Yes, because
Mhm,
that for the sake of the question, I'm going to choose
mhm.
criticize.
Yeah. But criticize ain't necessarily a bad thing.
Well, criticize is also subjective. What you perceive as criticism might be correction.
Mm, I like it. I like it. Would you rather have your thoughts broadcast out loud or never be able to speak your mind?
Hey,
Yeah, I don't want my thoughts broadcasted out loud. Um, would you rather have silence during conflict or words that cut but resolve quickly?
is those my only options? Like,
Those your only options.
I really think highly of conflict, so I don't think
Yeah,
words need to cut, but, I mean, if that's my only option, then sure. I
yeah,
go with cut words.
yeah. I'm with cut words. Would you rather people forget your mistakes or remember your encouragements?
Remember my encouragements.
Mhm.
and remember my mistakes. I don't really care if you remember my mistakes. I don't.
Same here. That's on you.
Well,
Why
it's
you
not that.
holding on to it?
It's not that.
Mm,
If you can remember, if you choose to remember, if you
mhm,
remember the fact that I made mistakes, then it helps to regulate who I am in your mind while I'm giving you words of encouragements and things of that nature. So within your mind, it helps you not to think too highly of me. I'm okay with that.
mm. I like that. I like that. I like that mindset and that perspective. Mm. And I got some other stuff to go along with that, but I ain't gonna talk about it. Um, would you rather receive tough truth or soft encouragement that not fully honest? That's an easy one.
Yeah, it's always for me.
Yeah, tough truth. Would you rather be remembered for what you said or what you did?
Both.
Both. After you
If I
surprised you
gotta
didn't just
choose
say
one, it's
yes.
gonna be if I gotta choose one, it's gonna be the last one.
What you did? Okay. Same. Would you rather never hear gossip or never speak it again?
Both.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to hear no gossip, and I ain't about to speak it either. I don't want to hear about the gossip. I'm okay without it. Would you rather live in a world where everyone whispers or everyone shouts? I don't like that. That's a stupid question.
What are we
Pass.
talking about?
Yeah, pass. Oh man. Um, we got two more questions, then we got rapid fire and we got some other stuff. But um, I think this is a good question, and I think only the mindset coach can handle this one. What's the difference between encouraging someone and enabling them with words?
Easy.
Ooh, easy.
Yeah, it's easy. The ability to challenge someone else's assumptions.
The ability to challenge someone else's assumptions.
Correct. If I am if I have because I think sometimes we mistake what the word encouraging is all about. Encouraging is not me holding pom poms and cheering for you all the time. It may be times where what you're dealing with requires that. But encouraging is also times when I am speaking to you to help you to understand that you can overcome this hurdle. It is times that I am speaking to you to help you to understand that you may be going about this the wrong way, right? I think all of that is encouragement, right? The Bible speaks in terms of uplifting and edifying. I think the totals of that is encouraging. Uplifting is to build someone up, right? To kind of help them feel, not so much as feel, but help them to give them energy in the direction in which they're trying to go. Edifying is instructions, right? So within the scope of all of that, I think that is encouraging. Enabling them is just simply me going along with whatever it is that they want to do and then just kind of coddling that mindset per se. Like say I want to be an NBA basketball player. I'm every bit of 5'8", bro, but I want to be an NBA basketball player. Well, if you're enabling me, then you would say, "Yeah, man, you'll be a real good basketball player. Like I bet you got handles. I bet you can shoot. I bet you can do all that." You know what I'm saying? That's enabling, right? Encouraging me would be to actually sit down and challenge the assumption that that mindset, that thought, that quote unquote dream, if you will, is rooted in. Because at the end of the day, it's not that you're discouraging me as it pertains to being an NBA superstar,
Mhm.
let alone discouraging me
Right.
from going and trying out for the NBA.
Mhm.
But it's more so of you making me to think, making me think about what got me to that. What did I eliminate to get to that aspect? Why did I eliminate all these other things and consider that this is the only logical path for you? Right? Not that you can't dream, and I'm not trying to take away your dream, but at the end
Mhm.
of the day, do you think that you were created to be an NBA basketball player? Right? Not saying that you are, not saying that you're not. So it's like all
Mhm.
of those things when we enable and you see it all the time these mindsets of young adults who really do believe that, oh, I can do whatever it is I want, and then at the end of the day only thing I got to do is come back to you and you're going to help bail me out. Well, if I do that, then the question that I ask is, are you really helping them when they come back and every time they come back you bail them out? because there's a lesson that's supposed to be in their life that they're living. And every time I jump in, I am preventing them from learning that lesson. But I think the same thing here happens when it comes on to words. If, and I'm gonna just say it like this, and I think it'll make perfect sense. If I observe a particular behavior that is not profitable for a person and they're displaying it against me, for me to say absolutely nothing is enabling them. That situation, that behavior in that moment in time is requiring me to give it to them.
Is
If I
that based off the relationship that you have with that person?
if we didn't have a relationship, then there would not be access to do so. That's why I keep saying
Hey,
that,
look,
right?
gotcha.
Right. So when I choose not to, when I choose passivity as a way of existing, and I'm claiming that passivity is godliness, that is a lie, number one, right? Again, there are scriptures that tell you if thy brother trespass against you, rebuke him, right? So again, if I choose passivity in the way of trespass and I allow them to keep doing it and behave whatever it is, I am enabling them because in their mind, there's no need to change this behavior because you didn't correct me. So now when they go and attempt to do it with somebody else, they come up against somebody, and that somebody, as the old folks used to say, their mouth ain't put on backwards.
Mm.
And so when they give it to them at the level that their behavior is required, it's like, he mean. He rough around the edges. He don't bite his tongue. He angry. All that other great stuff. No, it's not that. It's just that your mom and daddy didn't give you the proper instructions when you were growing up. So now that you're an adult and you're in adult spaces, you get treated like an adult. So I think
Mhm.
that's the difference. And even with that, that correction is encouraging because it moves you in the right direction of how your behavior should be.
Told y'all coach was on it. That was it. Where my button at? I need it. Where my button? Where my button, folks? Somebody take my button. Somebody took my button. Man, Imma leave the adults alone, and Imma talk about the kids a little bit. Actually, no, Imma talk about the parents a little bit. I see it all the time. I saw it, I was a elementary school counselor for 7 years, and I saw it all the time. I saw the encouraging of the kids, you can when you see a lot of adults and you see a lot of parents and you see a lot of kids and I think we had about 700 kids at the school or something like that. So you see a whole bunch of different parenting styles and you can see some kids with the encouraging parents and then you see the kids that are enabling. You see the kids that look like this and then you see the kids that look like that. You see the kids who act like this and the kids who act like that. um and sometimes you can see a little both in there sometimes too. And I think all of us as parents may have been in either one of these spaces at some time during a parent. I think sometimes as parents we encourage, and I think sometimes we may have enabled, depend on where we were in our parenting. For me, I probably enabled some. I know I enabled some. And I may chalked it up to um I don't want to ruffle the feathers or something, but these were a lot of things maybe when I was, kind of younger and I was more focused on um having a good relationship versus being the father. You know what I mean? The relationship is important, but being the father is the priority. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, my sons was going to have to leave the nest and go out there and do their own. So if I'm enabling them about a lot of things that can impact their growth and impact their success down the road. So I'm never, now where I'm at right now, I don't believe that parents should be doing a whole bunch of enabling with their kids. I ain't here to tell you how to raise your kids. But encouraging is very powerful. Encouraging, when a child is struggling, with schoolwork or something like that, some kind words, or not even kind words, the right words, that are spoken in encouragement can help, can help your kids a lot, with a lot of different things. So again, I see a lot of different parents even now that I'm in the high school. I see it. I see students who are encouraged by teachers. And then I see students who are enabled all the time. It's people that kids not going to class. You found out that they in Miss So and so's room. I'm like, Miss So and so, you keeping so and so from being in class because y'all got a good relationship. But I'm like, you're enabling that student because when that student graduates at the end of the year, the world ain't going to do that to them. The world is not going to enable them like that. So I guess just the parents, if you are a parent out there, look at the amount of encouraging versus the amount of enabling that you may be doing with your child, because kind of like to the other question, the words and what was put into you as a child and how they may have an impact on you, down the road. I don't know, it's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. So this way I got to speak to the other side of it.
Yeah, speak to it.
When I was in school, I wrote a white paper on the ecosystem of children in low income areas.
Mhm.
And one of the things that differ between those children and children who are raised up with both parents in the home
Mhm.
is that they had the opportunity to do certain things that single parents don't have the opportunity to do. So when you start talking parent teacher conference and all that other great stuff,
Mhm.
parents that are raising a dual family home have the opportunity to go and meet the teacher and build a relationship with the teacher so that the child knows that it's okay to have a good relationship with the teacher.
Mhm.
A lot of times, and again, this is not a blanket statement, so I don't want anybody to get all up in arms. A lot of times when you start looking at single parents don't have time to run up to the school because the school decides they want to have a function and they want to meet
Mhm.
and all that other great stuff. Why? Because that parent has to work. That parent has to cook when they come home from school. They have to take care of their responsibility.
Absolutely.
No mistake about it. Parenting is the responsibility. It always has been and it always will be. I think we live in a world today to I think, and this is nothing against what you said. I think we live in a world today, and it didn't just start today. I think I've seen it a lot when I was growing up as well, to where sometimes we overextend our responsibility into other areas. The responsibility of the parent is to not only train their child, but to teach their child as well. That's why a lot of people struggle during COVID-19 because a lot of parents aren't teaching their child. They're leaving it to the school system to teach their child. That's not the school system's responsibility. A lot of times, what these teachers are left to do is to try to teach your child the thing that you were supposed to teach your child at home and teach your child the curriculum. Very slippery slope. So
Very.
I'm saying that because we need to understand that when the child is born, the child has an ecosystem. Again, every child doesn't show up at school with a clear cut, prescribed, structured way of existing because they had both parents in the home and both parents had the right mindset when they had their child. Some people have kids too early. Some people are forced to survive. And then, and I hate to say it this way, then when it's time for that child to go to school, that kind of prevents them from having to do the daycare. So that means that they got more money in their pocket now. And I'm just saying it like this because this is reality.
Yeah.
Because daycare is expensive for a child, right? All of these things matter when it comes down to what we're talking about here.
Mhm.
Encouraging and enabling. Some children, encouraging to them simply looks like everything's going to be okay. I'll say that part again. To some kids, encouragement to them simply looks like everything's going to be okay because they're worried about their mother or their father, whoever the single parent is, because they're doing so many things and they see them passed out on the couch because they worked however many hours a day, so forth and so on. But then on the other hand, some of those other kids who may have that single parent who's done it, who, have a great job, whatever the case may be, or have a dual parent home to where they got the structured development, so forth and so on. Some of those other kids have the right infrastructure to where they can actually, the encouragement for them is that, you know what, the sky's the limit. You can do all these great and wonderful things, whatever the case may be. Now, am I saying that everything's going to be okay, child does not deserve the sky's the limit? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that they have to get to the point of not worrying about mama or daddy while they're at school so that they can get to everything, so that they can get to the sky's the limit, so forth and so on.
Then, you talked about, sometime the single family home and, sometimes the single parent home. And with the single parent home, sometimes we can't forget the past of that adult. In many cases, that parent came from a single parent home or a broken home and they didn't learn certain things. You know, And there was a lot of kids growing up that didn't get that encouragement. You look at some of that old school parenting, there wasn't a lot of encouragement. It was just do this and do that. No one say, "Hey, you're going to be great," encouraging, just encouraging things. It was like you said, it's about being a parent first. You know what I mean, and raising up that child. So I definitely get behind all the things that you said behind that, and again, man, you rocking and rolling. I might would just ask the question, just sit over here and what I mean? Just look, you
But I
own
think
it.
but I think that's important because
Mhm,
like I said, we live in a world to where the world would tell you that if you're not giving your children positivity and positive affirmations and blah 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 blah, you're doing your child a great disservice. Really? That's interesting.
mm.
That's
Yeah,
interesting because I don't necessarily see that being the construct of the entirety of train a child up in a way that they should go so that when they get older,
mhm,
they do not depart from it. Give the child the tools that they need. That's the thing to do. Speaking kind words or nice words, that's not a tool.
mhm,
That's not a tool. That's you begging and bartering because you want somebody to like you. Give them the tools that they need so that when they become adults, they're not walking around here being misled and misguided because they're falling for everything that's actually presented to them because they have no filter. They have
mhm,
no understanding about what's right and what's wrong. They don't know when someone is trying to deceive them or somebody's trying to help them. That's why I'm real adamant when it comes down to that. Because,
mhm.
you know, you'll ask a child, are you making good choices? But the question is, did you equip the child to make the choices that they should be making?
Yep, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Sheesh. Um, I got this question, but I part of me wanna adjust it and kinda think it needs to be adjusted,
Go ahead
but
and
I
make it.
don't know what to. Because here's the thing, if I got a relationship with somebody, I don't know if the careless words are gonna destroy the relationship.
It won't.
You see what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
won't. So, what are we really repairing?
Ego.
Ladies and gentlemen, rapid fire, here we go. It was I mean, it ain't too much right there.
Careless
Let's go
words.
back to it.
Careless words come from ego that crushes ego. That's all it is.
Mhm. Yeah,
So if it's a relationship that's worth its grain and salt, will a careless word damage the relationship? No.
yeah.
If that relationship have any depth and breadth to it, you should know how. You should be equipped because your parents raised you right, right?
Mhm,
You should be equipped to know how to go to an adult and have an honest conversation without losing your cool, without being on
mhm,
emotional wreck and all kind of stuff like that. So
mhm.
that's it. Ego.
Yep, and if you're an adult, 'cause you said go to an adult. Oh, yeah, so you talking about going to an adult, just adult to adult, yeah.
Mhm.
Because if me and coach got a relationship and I slip up and say something, I'm just like, dang, and coach was like, hey man, whatever you said, blah, 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 I ain't appreciate that. Okay, my fault, bro. I ain't realize that. I'm apologize immediately because that wasn't my intent. It was careless. But like you said, if we got a relationship, our relationship going to be good because we understand that there was a careless mistake or careless words.
Mhm.
And I like that, man, because I like having relationships because I like having relationships that are forgiving because I'm a talker and sometimes I can have diarrhea of the mouth or word vomit. And I never it's never my intent to offend. However, comma, I understand that I could offend somebody. Now, I also remember you talking about um how it's how you respond to it, correct? So it's like, again, I don't want to offend. I'm thankful for relationships to where I can, have some space and some grace, you know. But again, you better make sure that you got that relationship.
Can I speak to something else
Yes,
about
sir.
what
Yes,
what I
sir.
what I dislike in this world today?
Mhm.
We have created this fragile society,
Mhm.
super fragile. It is so bad to where you have people in relationships, and it's like you have to be so careful,
Mhm.
have to be so cautious of this and so cautious of that. Listen, if it is your intent not to offend somebody in a relationship, then let me help you to relieve some anxiety real quick. It is inevitable that you offend somebody if you're in relationship with them.
Mhm.
It is almost a guarantee that you will. Get over yourself thinking that you're going to be that good that you never offend anybody that you're in a relationship with. Here's one or two things I can promise you right now is a true and it is a truth. And if you take inventory, I bet you'll learn something about yourself. Number one, everybody you've been in a relationship with, you've offended them at least once.
Mm.
Number two, if you don't believe what I said, if you don't believe that number one is true, go sit down and have a conversation with everybody that you've ever been in a relationship with.
Mm.
It is what it is. I'm sorry. It is an unavoidable thing. You will offend. And now that does not say that, hey, well, you know what? Since I'm going to offend you, all guns
Here we
open.
go.
No, I'm
Mhm.
not saying that at all. That's not what I'm saying. Because people like to hear in extremes sometimes. Come on, that's immature. Come on back to the conversation. You don't have to be so careful in communicating in relationship, but you do have to be honest and authentic. If you can be honest and authentic, careful and careless are extremes. That's why I said what I said about sarcasm. Sometimes sarcasm is needed for people to get some people's attention. I call them defibrillators because the kind conversation didn't help you. You missed in the midst of the kind conversation, and you thought that conversation was so easy and so light it wasn't such a problem. But what I didn't know is that when you was growing up, you was a knucklehead, right? So
Mhm.
your parents had to tell you everything two and three times, and sometimes with a belt on the backside of it. That's how you got to, okay, let me stop doing that. So now as an adult, I ain't gonna put a belt on you. I get that part. We ain't gonna do that. That's not what we're doing. We ain't putting hands on nobody. We don't do that as mature adults. I'm gonna put these words on you real quick. You're gonna get these words. You're gonna get the tongue lashing. And it's not to your detriment, it's to your development.
Own it, man. I ain't got nothing to add to that. Nothing. I wish I could replay it back right now for everybody else to hear it again. Um, Very powerful words, man. Appreciate all of that. Man, what's the next question? What we got? Rapid fire, man. We got rapid fire next. Where my rapid fire questions at? All right, here we go. 10 of them. Coach gonna do rapid fire, folks. 10 questions. In rapid fire. So that means he gotta get quick with them. All right, you ready? You
Let's do it.
always are. One word that motivates you.
Hope.
Powerful. A word you won't use anymore.
Ninja. Listen, I'm so just being honest. Y'all know what I'm
I
talking about,
got you.
right? I'm
Mhm.
working on not using it even in the
Okay.
close circles, social circles, right? But yeah, ninja.
I didn't know you used that word.
See, that's my point.
Maybe I need to work on it too.
Hey man, honest, honest and transparency. I'm trying to tell you.
Honest and transparency. Maybe I need to work on it too. Because in my inner circles, it's
I already know.
use it. Yep. First phrase you say in the morning.
Thank God.
Mm, I want to know what the chat got to say about that one. Chat, what y'all got? What is the first phrase you say in the morning? I'm gonna pause for a little second because I want y'all to type it in here. But as we keep going through the rapid fire, we'll be looking in the comments and see what y'all put. Um, Word you want to hear more often.
I think in the world that we're in right now, the word that I want to hear more often, if I'm being honest, help.
Mhm.
I think some
Ooh.
people need to be transparent and say, I need some help. That's the word I want to hear more often. Not just because you can, not just because,
Mhm.
like, if you're being, you don't have to be so tough and reserved. Well, like, if you need some help, say you need some help. Man, woman, I don't care who you are. If you need help, say I need help.
Authentic help. I like that.
Hmm.
Most hurtful word said to you.
I can't say that on here, and I really don't want to tell you who it came
You
from
go.
too. But
You
I
go.
would,
Say
but
less.
I would give you this. It was the conversation from the beginning.
Mm,
Yes, sir.
I don't even know. One phrase that always makes you smile. We talk about that one later too.
So what now?
I said we'll talk about that one later too.
Okay, all right.
Well,
You
I can
talking
think of
about?
one for me. No, this actually this for you. I don't know. This ain't this for you. One phrase that always makes you smile.
I think it has a dual purpose. So
Mhm,
it can make you cringe and make you smile all at the same time. I love you. It can make you
mm,
cringe and make you smile at the same time, depending upon
mm,
who it comes from, right?
mhm,
For a man to hear the phrase "I love you" is good. It makes them smile. Even if they don't necessarily show it on their face, that makes them smile. But then by the same token, it also makes them cringe too, especially upon where who it's coming from. Like, really?
mhm.
Hmm. I don't know. I appreciate you telling me that. I'm looking sideways.
Yeah.
I'm looking sideways, dog. Got my eye on you.
When I first started using it with my male homeboys and stuff, it
Mhm.
was a little awkward.
Yeah.
It was definitely awkward for me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, but I'm used to it now, and I don't expect a "I love you" back. And when I'm saying it, I genuinely mean it.
Right.
That's one phrase that I don't throw around. I don't throw around.
Yeah.
I don't use love except for with people. So I don't love cars. I don't
Right.
love hobbies. I don't love my camera. I only use love when it comes to people. Now
Right.
that's just me because when I tell someone that I love them, I want them to know that they're not on the same par with pizza.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? When I say I love you, coach, I ain't going tonight like, oh man, I love that pizza, bruh, because it kind of diminishes the
Minutes.
value of the word when love is used all the time. When we go
Mhm.
back to the biblical days, there were different words for love,
Sure.
but where we at right now, there's really only one word. So for me, I don't love water. I don't love it. I only use it for people. Now, every once in a while, I may forget that and it may come out, but 9.99 times out of 10, I don't say love except for when it comes to people
Yeah.
or something to do with the relationship. Like I may say, I love this relationship that me and you have. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that's between two people. But
Right.
I don't love Coach's Corner. I like Coach's Corner. I'm very fond of it. I like the people here. I may love some of the people in the chat,
Right.
but I'm not going to diminish the value of my words when I say, Coach, I love you to anything else. It was a net that got me.
So let me. The net was fighting for your love.
Yeah, we fight.
Let me.
Mhm.
My bad. Let me. And so to that point,
Uh-huh.
it's like depending on and I like the fact that you said that when I say it, I'm not saying it because I'm looking for the response. I'm saying it
Mhm,
because I want you to know.
mhm.
Everybody don't move that way.
Yeah.
I'm 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 telling you guys the truth right now. As you listening, listen to what I'm saying. Everybody don't move that way. So a lot of times, and I talk men and women, right? A lot of times in the space of men and women, men honestly feel that if a woman tells him that she loves him, there's a responsibility for him to respond in kind. She didn't just tell him that because she wants him to know that. She told him that because she wants him to tell her that he loves her. That's why I say what I say. Like it can make you cringe, but then by the same token, it make you smile. Right?
Mhm,
I'm with you on the use of the word love. In fact, I'm also at that stage in my life where you'll see it before I can tell it to you. So then when I tell it to you, there's no curiosity in your mind. Well, yeah,
mhm,
So that's the other part. So when you start using phrases and the behavior does not exist that supports the phrase that you're using, now the phrase to that person is disingenuous, is unauthentic. It goes back to the James Baldwin statement. I can't believe what you do. I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. Now, you love me, but you're rolling your eyes at me.
mhm.
No, something about like my grandma used to say, something in the milk ain't clean.
Come on,
Right.
grandma, I like that. I mean, the milk ain't clean. I ain't never heard that one. I like it.
Oh yeah.
I like that one. Mm. Imma skip best advice in one sentence. Um, you got a whole bunch. Imma move on to a word you want on your tombstone. Ooh,
Oh wow. Um, son.
can't top that. And if you know, you know.
Yeah,
Some people ain't gonna get that.
that's all right.
That's okay. What's funnier, sarcasm or dad jokes?
Dad jokes all day long.
Dad
King of them. Let's go.
dad jokes, I'm with you. I'm on them I got dad jokes on my TikTok timeline right now, my FYP. Words that define you right now. One word that defines you right now.
Wow. Um, I gotta reduce it down to one word. Hmm.
Yep.
I think learner.
What? That's the same thing I was thinking. For me, I started off with son, kind of where you was at with the tombstone.
Mhm.
And then I was like, well, I ain't am I there yet? I'm still learning, but I didn't know if learner was a word. So I was trying to find something else. But when you said learner, I was like, okay, well, coach said it, then it must be a word. Um, we got one more question, man. Actually, yeah, we'll do one more question. We're gonna wrap it up because I just looked at we over an hour right now. Um, this is the last question. Let me move down. Last question of the night, coach. Can silence be just as powerful as words? Because we're talking about words and
Mhm.
how speech shape your life and legacy. So, can silence be just as powerful as words?
Yes.
That's the quick answer. Now we're looking for the extended coach version.
I'm just saying that's the question. The answer is yes.
Yep, mine too.
I think I think a lot of times we feel more powerful, if you will, for the lack of better terms, if we have more words to share. Um, and more words does not necessarily mean more impact. In fact, there's an old saying, a scripture, if you will, to where it was an old saying, I'm sorry, to where it talks about the difference between a wise man and a fool. And the wise man speaks to have something to say. I'm sorry, the fool speaks because they have to say something, but a wise man only speaks when he has something to say. So the less words that you actually use when you actually do decide to speak, people believe that there's going to be something that they're going to extract from what you say that's actually going to be impactful in their life. So silence used properly can be a very powerful tool. Words used properly can be a very powerful tool. So the presence of words and the absence of words can kind of help us to understand some things that we really need to know about our current environment.
About our current environment. That brings me to the other side of that. And this the silence that can be used as a weapon. You know, we are trying to have a discussion and someone chooses to be silent. That is very powerful. You don't have to say anything. I can tell everything about you and how you feel and honestly what you're thinking because you ain't saying anything, and I've seen that a lot. I've been in those situations before. And I've never been that person. I'm always the talker.
Hmm.
Um, but I've been in situations with people and that's how it was. They give you that silent treatment. So, to the other side, that silence can be just as powerful as words, when you're having a situation and you guys are trying to navigate it and for whatever reason, the environment, you choose to not say anything, those are very, very powerful. So to your point and to your, the same thing you said, yes, I believe silence can be just as powerful as words. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Did I open it up?
I think you did it intentionally too.
I did.
Um, so you're right.
Mhm,
Um, Given that particular scenario,
mhm,
it can be very powerful, childishly powerful. If we're talking to adults,
mhm. Yep.
adults should be able to have difficult conversations about difficult situations that actually are for the relationship. This is why I believe in conflict so much
Mhm.
because I think when we have a mentality that conflict is bad, then our behavior reflects the fact that every time conflict shows up, I now become sheepish. I turn into a child and I choose. I don't want to talk. I ain't got nothing to say. That's childish behavior. Listen, I love y'all.
Mhm.
And love and like is not the same thing. Houdini told y'all that years ago. Y'all wasn't listening. Do not, do not be in conflict and choose silence as your safe haven. Because I'm telling you right now, it will not work out well. In fact, I'll be completely transparent with you. Silence by itself breeds contempt. You're holding it in, whatever it is you feel you need to talk about for the sake of relationship, by the way, not just because you mad. Nobody care about you being mad. Nobody
Mhm.
care about me being mad. You being mad has absolutely nothing to do with reality. In fact, if I can just say it like this, nobody cares.
Mhm.
Let's lay that out on the line first. I'm sorry. Somebody just disagreed with me, and I'm okay with disagreeing, but just hear the entire point before you commit to disagreeing. You being mad, the relationship itself could care less about. The relationship only cares about the two of you acting like mature adults and solving this conflict. So be mad and grow up in the madness and learn not to allow the mad to dictate what you do next. Choosing silence over having an adult conversation is on the low spectrum of behavior when it comes down to relationship. If you're that person, don't infect nobody else right now. Do better. Learn how to have difficult conversations. Learn how to stay in it. Even just because the kitchen, y'all know how it was when y'all was growing up. Just because the kitchen hot, somebody got to stand there and finish cooking so
Yep.
that everybody can eat. So don't get mad when the kitchen get hot, especially when your behavior caused the heat. Stay in it. Be refined by fire. Come out of it better in the relationship healthier. That's the problem with most relationships today. They don't go through nothing, so they never get to nothing. So what ends up
Mhm.
happening, they just toss their hands up and say, "I'm not doing this." Okay, that's fine. You probably shouldn't have done it to begin with, but there should not be a conflict. Save DV. There should not be a conflict that warrants quitting.
I agree. I agree 100% of that, man. You had a lot of good stuff to add on to that, man. And as we wrapping up, man, I really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, man. We both know how powerful words are. Again, we just talked about affirmations the last couple of weeks, man. So, for whatever reason, man, words are coming around, and that's what we're talking about lately. So for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? Because the thing about it is me and you, we didn't talk about these two different topics and stuff that we came up with. They just all kind of just fell in line the way that they did. And I'm very thankful and grateful that they did. And I'm very thankful and grateful that I was able to have the conversation with you. So again, folks, is 12, we're a little bit after, appreciate you guys staying with us a little couple of extra minutes and so, but we're gonna wrap up, man. Anything you want to say or share other than meet us on Friday night over on Hearts of Men podcast?
Oh man, we kept these good people long enough, man. I appreciate
All
them
right.
being here. Yes, sir.
Right. All right, folks. Y'all have a good one. We out.